Go on. Here we go. Happy draft night. Draft night number 2, second and third round. Steelers fans, Steelers Nation. Of course, I got to bring on the best. My man, Cam Heyward. I got Willie Colon. I'm backstage. Going to bring him on as well. Cam, how are we doing on a Friday night, man?
Man, I'm good. Family's winding down. About to watch this draft. Have some, hopefully we have some luck tonight, and it's going to be fun.
All right, I'm going to bring on Willie here. He's going to join us. Willie, make sure you got your mic unmuted, my man.
Cam, what up, baby?
What's up?
What up, family?
How you been?
Man, I'm just floating, baby. Kids, business, work, just floating.
Cam, you said you want to have some luck tonight. What's luck look like for you and for our Steelers, you think?
Man, I think we got to go O-line. Just continue to add to that front. Maybe a corner late or a tight end. But you got to see. You don't know how this thing's going to fall. One thing I've learned over time is don't put all your eggs in one basket. I remember there were years before I'd be like, man, why didn't we go for this guy? And then what do you know? We get an all-pro and TJ Watt you never question what the organization feels.
Yeah, so TJ Watt was a guy that you were kind of like, I don't know about.
No, I'm kidding. I use that as an example, but TJ was definitely a guy I was looking forward to have, and I was kind of excited that he fell to 30, which is crazy. You look back, that dude would have probably went top 5, so we definitely benefited in the long run.
Well, if you think about it, Cam, I mean, the guys you came in with your rookie year. Look at Steve McClendon and the career he's had. I mean, if somebody was in your shoes when you came in, obviously you was a big time player coming out of Ohio State, but Steve was a guy that really nobody knew about. But all of a sudden, he's in the lineup, he's cracking heads, he's in front of that, he's leading that front along you. So I think you're right. It's easy to kind of second guess guys till you see them actually go to work. You're like, oh, maybe I need to shut up and just let the GMs be GMs. And
you just never know how this is gonna go. I don't ever view anybody as a bust. I just view it as a fit. There can be a ton of things that go wrong, but it's all about what happens after the draft, right? And so I think you got to realize, it's great to be drafted, but the work starts after. You got to be willing to dedicate yourself, and sometimes just shut up and get to business.
Right.
Yeah, Cam, you tweeted last night, man. You said defense's best friend is a running game. Right. So you're liking the Najee pick. What are your thoughts on Najee Harris becoming a teammate?
That's me saying that, but I think our D coordinator, all of our defensive coaches were like, that's the best defensive asset we could have drafted. That dude, I've watched his tape. Man, when that dude got on the edge, it didn't even matter if anyone was blocking for him. The dude went and made plays, and I just love the way he fights. I think the thing that separates him from the other backs is he can block too, and he's very stout. And when you have a complete back like that, you can't second guess that.
I mean, firsthand, you had Levy on. You understood, a lot of us understood what he meant to that offense, man. You get a back that can block, catch the ball. You can put him in a slot. You can put him in any position. He can be effective, man. That's that. And one, I think you may know this because you've played a long time in the league. Having a healthy back come out of college means something. Yeah. You know what I mean? The fact that he's healthy at this current time, where he could participate in spring training, the OTAs, and go into camp, where it's like showing off a new Ferrari. It's easy to buy one, but you want to see it go, right? So now what I mean. Now you just see him go. That's going to be big for the team.
Well, the funny thing is, you look at some of these running backs, when they step on the field, you know what they're going to do. You get like a Giovanni Bernard. He's not blocking. He's a screen guy. And, when he gets in position, he's right behind the tackle. So he's getting out. You look at him, there are a plethora of things you can do with him. And I think that's what, in Matt Canada's offense is going to take a next step. It's not about just him getting the ball. It's about him blocking, him being able to run a play action, him being able to come out of the backfield for, a swing route, or even bring it up to a vertical route. These are all the opportunities you can do with this guy. And, it's going to be exciting to test out this new Ferrari we got.
You're right.
Let's
And
slow.
Joey, what the analysts like to say, he has range. They call it range. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, he's a do-it-all player. 3 down back, another thing they like to say, right? Popular phrase.
Yep.
Let's go over to the defense, Cam. We got obviously up front. You get Aluwalu, bluffing on Jacksonville. He's coming back. Did you have a big hand in that? Were you like, hey, you can't go unless I say so?
I may have. No, but I like the thing I did, but you never know. Tyson had to make the decision for him and his family. For me, I was like, don't break up this band. We got something good up front, and I've enjoyed our 5 years together, and I still think he's still tapping into more. I think going back to Jacksonville just doesn't do it. I think you've already experienced what you've experienced there, but now you're back to Pitt. Let's keep it here, and I think he's played his best ball here. So why mess up a good thing?
Cam, I know why a lot of people take the discount and stay in Pittsburgh. It's reportedly talked about in the media, and it's kind of like glossed over. But from a team captain, a leader, a future Go Jacket, why do you think people will? Why do you think a lot of players stay in Pittsburgh and take the discount?
Man, it's not the weather, I tell you that.
Right.
Man, but I just think there's a level of honesty throughout the building, from the Rooneys to Coach Tomlin to your coaches to the players, and there's a brotherhood, I think, in our locker room, and I think we really have each other's back. It's not some hoopla that once the off season starts, I forget about you.
Right.
You won't see me again until we have minicamp. We keep in contact with each other, and the level of competition you get in practice to wearing that Steeler logo, man, that's a match made in heaven, and most guys don't want to leave that. It's one thing for the money, but if I feel like I've always said to myself, if you have a losing organization that offers you more money versus a winning organization that offers you more money, less money, I got to go with that. I'm going for my well-being more than me getting an extra check at that point.
No, I agree. I was in that position right after the Arizona Super Bowl. I had a chance to go to Chicago and make an extra $5 million, and I was and I was pissed off when my wife now was pissed off because we had just started. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, you don't understand. Losing sucks. And losing in the trenches when you're digging and banging and you don't necessarily believe. Like, I believe you were birthed into a Hall of Fame defense. I was birthed into a Hall of Fame team, and I'm honored to see Alan Faneca because I was on the line with Alan Faneca and to see Troy and all these guys. So when you're birthed into that, and then you see, and I'm glad you brought up the offseason because I knew a lot of guys that came from losing teams in the offseason. They weren't drinking because they had the money. They were drinking because they're like, fuck, we suck, and I got to go back to this. You know what I mean? So I was enduring guys who came from different organizations who had horror stories. Like, I don't know if you're a little bit younger than me, Cam, but when I got there, man, Warren Sapp was with the Raiders at the time. And I knew two guys that were with the Raiders. And they talked about the Oakland Raiders organization like if it was fucking Alcatraz. They were talking about fights in the weight room. Warren Sapp will only show up on Fridays. The locker room smelled like weed. Guys, it was just chaos. And I said to myself, there's no amount of money that would ever come from where we come from, bring me to that. You know what I mean? Obviously, I ended up being a fucking Jet, but my time was up. Pittsburgh, you got to go, old man. But at the end of the day, man, it's the culture. It's the brotherhood, like you just mentioned. And what I really try to tell a lot of people, Cam, and I know you can agree with this, is on any given Sunday, every man in the helmet is going to give their life to fight. And when people say that, they don't like to use life. And it was like, that's kind of morbid. And again, like, listen, I know for a fact, I play with guys by the name of James Ferrier, Casey Hampton, Aaron Smith, Brett Kiesel. These men were willing to die on the field because they were at peace with their life. And Jamal Adams, a safety from the Jets, has said that at his rookie years, and they came at him and they bashed him, and they shouldn't have. Because he's a man who father played the game, and two, has an extreme passion for the game. So he he was talking with his heart. And I played with a lot of guys like you, and I was happy that you were able to have leadership like Casey Hampton and James Harrison and all these guys, because those guys play with the pride, the heart, and the tenacity. Why would I ever leave that? Why would I? I'm gonna let you behind the curtain. When I was with the Jets, and I love the Jets organization, they allowed me to come home and be something. I was playing with guys who had thick ass resumes, who didn't give a shit what happened on Sunday. They just was getting the checks. They worried about their output and how they were perceived. I hated it within year 2, and so it's I think it's important that a lot of people understand it's not you're taking a discount because you know the man next to you is gonna go to war with you, go to battle with you every Sunday and mean it, and really mean it. Bro.
Well, Willie, you would hear those stories where if they go 0-4 in September, they're already shipping their cars back for December.
Yeah, right.
And so, like, you know, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be in an organization that doesn't, you know, think the same way with my values. Like, you got to be putting in extra time to win in this game. You know, it doesn't come lightly. And if I'm the last one in the building and my coach is leaving, that's a problem. And you hear about these coaches, you know, they check out too. And, you know, it's scary. You know, we get to a level where everybody's got to be professional. We got so many unprofessional people in this game. It's crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Dog, I'll give you a quick story, Joey. I don't mean to take it over.
No, good. This is
Cleveland. I forgot what year it was, but it was Cleveland last season. It was like towards the end of the season. We're in Pittsburgh, and we start to roll the tanks on them. We're just running the ball. Defense is kicking their ass. Offense is kicking their ass. And I remember we were about to go on a score, and one of the defensive tackles. This is the time when Big Baby Shawn Rodgers was on that defense, and they had a host of Cam and Wembley. All those guys were together over there. And I remember, I forgot who I was going against, but I remember we had a double team block, and I was just trying to dog his ass into the ground. He literally popped up. Wasn't mad that I was kicking his ass. He was more mad that was 3 minutes left in the game, and he was trying to stay injury free so he can catch a flight to the Bahamas in the next 2 days. Literally came out his mouth, and I mean, at the time, Darnell Stapleton, my right guard, he was like, "What you say, bro?" He's like, "Man, y'all need to let up, man. It's 3 minutes on the clock. Y'all gonna win. We ain't going to the playoffs. I'm not trying to get hurt out here." And that was like always, that was like burned into my brain, because if it was the shoes on the other foot, I would probably try to start a fight because I was bitter of getting my ass kicked. Right? I would have been bitter. I was like, "I'm gonna fight. I'm just gonna start fighting everybody." That wasn't their mantra. So when you play different teams, and you play different guys around the league, Joey, you start to say to yourself, like, "Listen, I'm good in this. I'm good. This grass right here, I'm okay with this grass.
Cool.
Even though it's fucking, you know, it's 14 degrees and my body's is squeaking, I'm okay. Please keep me in."
Willie, but then like the good teams, they find reasons just to be pissed off.
Sure.
You know, you get those games where it's like, man, I just don't like the way people are talking about them. You're like, yes. I'm gonna make this a point today just to be extra.
No question. Petty. Yes. Actually, Tony Petty Braxton, as they would say.
Yes, but then you get the teams that don't think like that, and they're like, "Man, we'll just pack it up. We'll try again next week." And I'm like,
"No,
yeah. If I'm doing this on a farm, I don't want to be a part of this in the future."
No question.
Cam, you mentioned offensive line. You think that's where the Steelers got to go tonight, and I know Willie and I definitely agree with you on that. But let's, when they bring in a new guy like that, a young Mauler trying to prove himself coming in as a veteran D lineman, are you ready to just lick your chops and go after the young guy? Or are you like, shit, man, I got this energetic dude coming in here trying to prove himself? How do you feel when a young guy comes in like that?
I think about how Willie tried to, when I went in, they all jumped me at the first practice. So I have to do the same back. Like,
right. Bring him in right.
A welcoming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've heard about Tunch Ilkin and Wolf and how they would go against Me Joe. And Me Joe would not let up on those fools. So, there is a rite of passage to play Pittsburgh Steelers football.
I love that, man. Put it on a shirt.
He's 100% right. Cam's not lying, because my first OTAs, man, I was going against Aaron Smith, and Aaron Smith was an absolute fucking monster. He was just a dog of a man. Yeah. And I remember, I came from a spread offense, so I was used to standing up. At the time, my offensive line coach was Russ Graham. He was like, "Listen, you want to play in Pittsburgh, you got to put your hand in the dirt, bottom line. So you got to come through in your stance. I need you to fire off the ball." So I spent like 2 practices just trying to get in my stance, get comfortable. And so Aaron Smith, who was working out, Cam would tell you, Hokie and Travis, they would be hitting the sled after practice, just firing off, right? So A. Smith walks over one day, and he's like, "Hey, man, I see you men out here working. let me work with you. Let me help you out. So I'm like, boom. I'm thinking this is gonna be a casual boom boom fit up. This motherfucker fired off in my face. Mind you, Joey, it's just me and him. I have no guard, I got no tight ends. We're just in a patch of grass, and he's kicking my ass. Like, to the point, I looked at him, I was like, homie, what up? Like, is there some shit I don't know about? Did I do something in practice? And he was like, no. He was like, the reason I keep kicking your ass because you're tipping where you're going. And he was breaking down my stance, my hat movement, while my shoulders rolled over, how I was tipping off where I was going. So what he was doing, he was beating me to where I was trying to go and where I was firing. He was kicking my ass and teaching me at the same time. That's the steal away.
Yeah, this dude was hitting you with the Mr. Miyagi.
Oh, wham! Right my shit. I was just like,
man, I remember they jumped me the first practice, and you're young, you're like, I fought in practice before, and so I came over to the sideline. I didn't fight, and like Coach Mitch comes up to me and goes, don't be afraid to whoop a man's ass in the first day of practice. I said, all right, Coach, appreciate that. Let me get back to business. The next period, I feel like there was just a fight and a brawl, and then all I see is Casey Hampton run on the field. And when Casey runs on the field, you know something's going on because Casey ain't running.
He ain't running for nothing, right?
Yeah. They don't call snaps for no reason, man.
Yes,
right.
That's too good. Cam, I know you got your fam, you got stuff going on a Friday night, man. I can't thank you enough for talking some Steelers and having fun with us tonight. We're going to get us some linemen, and you're going to teach them the way, and we're going to bring home 7, baby, all right?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
How do you,
Thanks for having me.
Keep leading up, brother. Love you, bro.
Appreciate you.
Yep. See you, man. That's Cam Heyward right there. Willie, man. That's I love that, dude. I forgot that you had the crossover there with him when you were finishing up, and then when he came in. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Cam was special, man, because obviously a lot of people know his legacy with his dad, especially in particular Pittsburgh. But he came in, and the reason why I kind of remember his first, he was a bull, man. He was talented right off the gate, just like a Marquise Pouncey. Like sometimes when players see other players, you just know they got it. He was tough, he was physical, and then as Joey Porter would say back in his day, he was a pup that can bite. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't afraid to bite, and that was Cam, man. Like he was bringing it, and he was bringing it. If you let down, he was still trying to kick your ass. So you kind of had to rally back up and finish practice. But that's I know those old Tomlin isms kind of get washed over, but that's iron sharpening iron. Because there's gonna be teams that's gonna let up. You can't let up. You got to keep digging, and so you have guys you go against that can bring that type of energy. It just makes you better.
I mean, that has to be – I mean, the Steelers have to be one of the probably the most intimidating franchise to walk into as a rookie when year in and year out, you're not rebuilding, you're reloading, right? I mean, so when you walk in the door there, you got to just be like, damn, I'm seeing these trophies. I'm seeing these studs on the other side of the ball. This shit's crazy.
Listen, man, you talk about intimidating. My after I got drafted, walking into that locker room, only knowing the Pittsburgh Steelers that won the Super Bowl. I really wasn't a Steeler fan. I was a Giants fan, so I paid more attention to the Big Blue.
Yeah.
But walking in there and seeing Joey Porter with a cut-off sweatshirt, 12-pack, arms glistening, looking at James Harrison doing push-ups on the floor for no reason, looking at James Ferrier and Larry Foote, just talking reckless to each other, but also laughing as they're walking off the field. And then watching the temperature of the team that just won the Super Bowl look ferociously hungry and super cocky. And you're trying to tell yourself, I'm a kid from Hofstra trying to figure out where. Because everybody looks like a superhero. Everybody, I remember I tell this story all the time. My first, we went on air. And the 2s go against the 1, so I'm on the second team. Max Starks at this time starting in front of me.
Yeah.
The first time I seen Troy Polamalu, I done seen the Super Bowl and I done seen everything. I know he's a beast. Troy is floating in the secondary. I can see his hair, like a butterfly going, and he's bouncing around the field.
Football
Jesus. So we had and so we have a play called 60. We have 62 protection, and pretty much if anything, if I have an immediate threat in my B gap, I got to take it.
Yeah,
I got that, and then the quarterback's going to throw off the outside linebacker is pretty much a hot read. Boom. I know my responsibilities, Joey. I know what I got to do. I'm in. I know I'm running with the 2s, so I got an opportunity here. I'm watching Troy Polamalu float in the secondary. I'm listening to the snap count, looking at this guy, and I can see Troy literally stop Like it looked like he was levitating and fucking in air. And he stopped. He's right in the B gap. So now I'm like, oh shit. Here goes Troy, outside linebacker. You know, if he comes, I know I gotta take him. Boom. So as soon as Ben gets into his cadence, Troy takes off. He runs. He looked like he's about to haul ass to get back to his position in secondary. I turn my head to go get the outside linebacker. Troy sacked the quarterback. And I said to myself, how? I studied. I know I should be doing. How the fuck did this just happen? And flat out, when you go back on tape, he literally jogged him. He ran as fast, jogged in place. And by the time I turned my head, he was beelining through the gap. And I can remember Russ Grimm at the time was my offensive line coach, was like, Willie, God damn it. You got to keep your eyes on him. He's fucking all pro. Like, what do you think? This isn't Hofstra. Like, this is the big league. And I remember just being like, but that was football. That was Steelers football, man. You got to see superheroes be superheroes every day.
That's football Jesus, man. That's awesome. All right, I got he titled himself Franco Jr. here. He looks just like him, man. I don't know. Is it his kid? I think so. Dave Dameshek, the man, the myth, the legend. What's going on, my friend?
Yeah, what's happening, fellas? What's going down? I'm sorry, I got all swept up listening to the stories with Colon and Heyward. I forgot to sign on to the thing. What's happening, fellas?
Just two bullies catching up. That's all.
I'll tell you what. I got to tell you, between you, Willie, and Ryan Clark and Ike and all the fellas, those stories. One thing that is definitely clear, Joey, versus the Patriots of the 21st century, it was definitely more fun to be on the Steelers with the stories I hear. There's no question about that.
No, and it's unfortunate. It's like the best because we get to hear him on the air, but I still want to have the off the air Willie Colon IT stories because I know that those would top that even more and then some.
Oh man, if they ever did an ESPN 30 for 30, bro, we'd get an Oscar, hands down.
So Dave, you have been on the same train as me, at least on the Twitter sphere. Everybody seems to forget that we have tonight as the draft and then tomorrow is the draft too. I mean, what is this phenomenon that's sweeping the football world that apparently the draft ends after round one?
Exactly. It's this looking at the people walk up over Picasso's shoulder after he did one paint stroke and be like, that sucks. Like, you know what? How about we give him the benefit of the doubt here and let him finish it off? I'm pretty sure Kevin Colbert's been around long enough to know that he has picks after round one. I'm going to rely on that and go from there. I'm kind of almost hoping, though, that the way this thing's breaking, that there could be some interesting edge rushers. There could be a tight end possibly that intrigues, a corner. I almost want to see him take anybody but an offensive lineman just to watch the sky fall in Pittsburgh because people are going crazy about how insane this is. You know, all things are not equal. All 32 NFL teams drafting in any given year don't have the same needs, aren't on the same trajectory. I heard what Cam was saying, what you guys were talking about with him. You know, this goes back 4 months ago. Now, by the same standard, like, were we supposed to burn a year off of Cam Heyward's career because people pounded the table and said, Roethlisberger's washed up? Like, this is where the cap left us because of COVID. Yeah. And, you know, this thing like, you don't need a high-end running back. Okay, listen, the last 3 years, the Steelers gave it a run with James Conner on down, and no disrespect, you know, one of the great stories in Pittsburgh sports of, you know, the last quarter century is James Conner going from Pitt Stadium, which is the same as Heinz Field, and just putting on a different uniform and running out of the same tunnel. It's awesome stuff. The problem is there's got to be a floor for how low you go at the position. It's like, you don't understand offensive line. You know who else doesn't understand offensive line, Joey? You and 99% of football fans. I sincerely, I don't say this to you, Willie, because I'm talking to you. I defer to you, to Jeff Schwartz, to the guys who played the position, and very few human beings on planet Earth. Nobody, it's the most pretentious conversation. It's the best red flag to identify football fans who are over their skis and don't know what they're talking about. When they start talking to you about, like, I really like that left guard, like, you don't know what you're talking about. You heard Willie Colon talk about it. So now you're passing it on. You know what you're talking about. Tevin Jenkins, I wanted him so bad. Based on what? You don't know if he's good or not. Like, you have no ability to divine that. So So stop being pretentious and trust in Kevin Colbert. He's done a nice job, by the way, if you haven't noticed, in the last decade. Everybody, the best guys hit it 60%. Kevin Colbert has done just fine in the draft over the last decade or so.
Well, Willie, you even texted me last night after Najee was the pick, and you were like, we got our guy. And this is coming from a lineman. This is coming from a bang up, put your feet in cleats, strap it on, and let's go. So, I mean, you're sitting here, you get a running back round one. You're feeling good? I mean, what's your thoughts on not taking a lineman, Willie?
Well, I think you got to understand, and I said this when we were doing we're doing the Barstool thing on the draft show.
Yeah.
There's no way you could look at Steeler football and the DNA of what that organization is and watch the way they played last year when it was 3rd and 3, and we were throwing the ball. That Pittsburgh, we roll the tanks. It doesn't. You put your face mask against our face mask. We're running the ball. You know we're coming, and we're going right at you. That's what we've done consistently through the years. So when you have diehard Steeler fans, and you start to see that changing the DNA of what the culture and how the culture is in Pittsburgh, there's no way you can go into this draft and be like, we need O-lineman right away. You got to go get a running back, and you got to get a talented, big running back who is built for cold weather, who's willing to block, who is a multi-threat like Le'Veon Bell was, because when L. Bell wasn't playing for the Steelers, he was the baddest man on the field. I loved Antonio Brown, but Le'Veon was the X factor. So now you have a young X factor who's hungry, humble, and now you get a Najee Harris, by the way, who wants to be there. You know, he's not complaining about where he could have been or where he should have got drafted. He's like, I'm a Steeler. I'll be on the bus tomorrow. That means something. That's good for the locker room to hear. So I like the pick. I have no problems. Listen, I was a 4th rounder, 131. I like to consider I was a dog for the black and gold. There are a lot of scrappy motherfuckers that are still sitting around who would love to wear the black and gold and who would do it for pork chop sandwiches and grits. So just let them go to work.
Dave, do you think there's any chance? I saw the Photoshop that you did earlier. Any chance that they just slap Harris on the back of 32 and we keep this thing rolling?
I know. Let's not let I know Najee has already come out and said he's going with 22. He's already said that.
Oh,
Listen,
did he?
He wore 2 in high school. He wore 22 at Bama. I'm all for what's in your rear view mirror personally, but it's in the rear view mirror. And speaking of which, Willie just hit it. You know, this won't appeal to the analytics people of the 21st century, but it does matter to some degree, identity and what Pittsburgh Steelers fans. I think a lot of the old school Yinzers go too far. We're like, Dave, you got to run the ball. Why are we like, Dave, you got to, it's like, all right, let's not get crazy. It's 2021. Things have changed, and that requires a certain fluidity in GMing and coaching and otherwise. But let's build a bridge back to when the Steelers first started to matter and became a point of pride for Pittsburgh, PA. And it starts with Mean Joe and Bradshaw. But in 72, they drafted a guy in the first round. And it's worth repeating. People don't know this. I bet Willie may not even know this. Franco Harris was criticized when it was like, why'd you draft Penn State's fullback? Lydell Mitchell is their feature back. It's not the guy who's been blocking for him. It worked out okay for Franco. I say Franco hand 32 down to Franco Jr., aka Najee, and let's go from there. But either way, yes, let's wait and see what Kevin Colbert and Coach T and everybody else cooks up here before we decide that the Steelers are washed in a week before Cinco de Mayo here.
Well, and that's one,
right.
That's one thing that's crazy is, Will, you mentioned it. You were 4th round. You were 131. The offensive line in the past few years, 2016, 2017, that was at top of the league. Al Villanueva was a tight end in college. Ramon Foster was undrafted. You had Marcus Gilbert, who's the 2nd rounder. Yeah, you had Pounce and you had David DeCastro that were 1st rounders. But I mean, the majority of the guys up front and the dudes who were coming in, 6th, 7th for depth, they were guys that you found that, like you said, Willie, they were just some mean-ass motherfuckers who wanted to come in and bang some heads. So I guess the short-sightedness, and I know, and Dave, you make fun of this all the time, and I love it. You just the short-sightedness, the quick memory to forget in May and April what teams were last year before, what's happened when teams were successful is just absolutely astounding to me.
Well, Joey, what it is, what fans don't like fans are like, all right, we weren't where we wanted to be. We were where we wanted to be last year. All right, so let's do something real sporadic and quick so we can get back to the top. The Steelers has never been built like that. They're worried about year 3 and year 4, the draft that they're collecting now. How are they going to pan out? Because in year 3, year 4, I'm gonna get a better pro, a mature pro, a more developed pro, a smarter pro, and now we can take on the world. You don't put a tree in the ground for it to sprout up right away. You let it grow. It's going to take time. And that's Steelers football. They've had Steve McClendon, guys like me. I don't know if David Johnson, different guys who needed time to grow and become pros. And when it was showtime and it was nut cutting time, these were the guys who had enough football underneath their belt to make it work and make it work for the team. There's some guys that are going to be home runs. Like you said, Marquise Pouncey, the San Antonio Holmes, those are home runs. Steelers focus on they're focused on the Larry Foots of the world, who was a 3rd rounder. They're focused on those type of guys because you know why? Because when the rubber hits the road, these guys have been through enough. They have played enough. They're more seasoned. So yeah, it's easy to say want to turn around next year and go right to the playoffs and go to Super Bowl. But nobody knows what's going to happen to Big Ben. The party still has to go on. Big Ben is not in the building. So they're going to continue to draft whoever they want to draft. But from a team standpoint, they got to make sure that the holes that they're putting in place are growing right on time. So when they do get a plug-and-play quarterback, the team is right where they need to be, and they're off to a number 7 or 8.
Hopefully number 7 and number 8. Yeah, no.
Right.
No. Let's update it here a little bit. I don't know if you guys have it on in the background or not, the draft, but Landon Dickerson, Liam Eichenberg, 2 potential guys that people have circled that could be a good fit for the Steelers. They have gone off the board. Yeah, Eichenberg to Miami and Landon Dickerson right at the top to Philadelphia there. So 2 offensive linemen. But that's the thing is the Raiders just selected at pick 43. We're on pick 44, and there's still guys like Creed Humphrey, Quinn Miners, Tevin Jenkins, Stone Forsythe. I mean, the list goes on and on. So
Jenkins is gone, but your point stands. Yeah, if Creed Humphrey could wind up there, I feel like, and again, I'm like anybody else, I'm talking out my butt. I defer to Willie on this. That from what from Colbert and Coach T and otherwise, it seems to me obviously Marquise Pouncey sits down after a decade of mostly high-end performance at center. I feel like they believe in Chooks and Zach Banner a little bit more than people out there do. It's as though like you're kind of talking about the progress that you make, that you build up. Right. It's not like you walk in the door day one. Now, I do think running back is a different
animal. Yeah. So
right. By its nature, you kind of have to hit the ground running literally and figuratively at running back. Like that, I don't advise anybody to go in the 21st century in free agency. They have diminished they've devalued the position of running back. I wouldn't go into it if I were a great athlete and had that build. Go into a cornerback. You're going to get paid more and play longer. And even though it sounds nihilistic and glib for the player's sake, that's not the Steelers' responsibility. I really think that's what happened with Le'Veon Bell. I know along with wanting the money, I think he felt betrayed on some level by them, round about that 2015 postseason. I think he felt like they were consistently running him into the ground, and he got raw about that a little bit. I don't think he loved the usage he was getting. I think it got to a point for him like, where's my money? And I get that where that chip may have come from with him. But yeah, listen, if Creed Humphrey is I'm sorry. So if they can get Creed Humphrey or the D3 kid to play center, the idea that like Chooks and Banner are what they were in 2020 or 2019 is thinking, right? I mean, the ability to get better exists, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. If those guys project for Colbert and otherwise as guys who are going to get better in 2021 than what we saw previously, then the offensive line ain't as messed up as everybody's making it out to be. And another one is, what if DeCastro, who seemed like he was having some existential stuff, like I don't even know why we're playing in the age of COVID, kind of stuff, like what if he bounces back? And I guess he was also a little banged up too. I mean, I'm being optimistic, glass half full about that, but the offensive line doesn't have to be as terrible as the analytics people are insisting it is right now.
Listen, they said that our Super Bowl line was the worst in Steelers history. We won a Super Bowl. So
that's
the analytics don't know shit
right there. And Willie, I know you got to roll, so me and Dave will keep going this thing through. I appreciate the time, my man. We'll see what we get. I appreciate it, Willie.
Be good, guys. Appreciate you.
Talk to you.
Goodbye, 74. There he goes.
There he goes. Willie
No, so
Colon.
I mean, that was stunning information, though, for some people out there. So he was a 4th-round pick, and yet he was allowed to start on a pro football team, let alone a team that went on to win the Super Bowl. That seems like that does not line up with everything we've been told over these last few weeks, that you cannot, if you take our 1st-round running back, you're doomed. And
my
you've screwed up.
My favorite part about that too, a couple things. My favorite part is one, the people who I tweeted it. I said the people who always talk about how teams are built, championship teams, you may win round 1, but championships are won on day 3. Those are the same people who are ripping the pick of Najee Harris at 24. And then also everybody talks about how it's an overreach, Dave, to draft the running back at 24, who's the best player at that
Go
position.
ahead and say it. It's Jeff Schwartz. That's the one.
Right. No, I've called out Schwartz on blogs. I've called out Schwartz on Twitter, but there are many others that are in his side of the field who are in my mentions, who are in your mentions as well. And apparently reaching for the 7th best offensive lineman in the 1st round is okay, but the best overall running back at the position is not okay. It's just funny. It's interesting.
That's exactly right. That's my favorite thing, is how pretentious people have gotten about this. Like, you don't understand pedigree. Like, you don't understand that. You're the ones who seem to think that anybody who is listed as offensive tackle is the same human being. Like, you just pound the table for a guy because you heard something somebody said that, he'll be great at that. For Tevin Jenkins, never mind that he's a right tackle. Like, what? Okay, but that's not definitely their position of need. It's more left tackle, right? No? Are we anyway? Yes, but they didn't take the guy that I said they should. By the way, the whole process, this is one of the best examples of self-validation from sports media that you will get on the sports calendar perennially. People go into it and decree, like, that team needs to take this guy. And then when they don't take that guy, then it's like, they failed, and my draft grade is D. Why? Well, because they didn't agree with what I told them to do in advance. Ergo, they are wrong. I mean, like, it's the stupidest thing. And yet we're all like online, like on Monday, like, how'd my team do? Like, well, it depends what the guy said before who that team should take. It makes me crazy.
Draft season is just like, it's the epitome of showing that, like, humans just absolutely need some sort of thing to distract themselves from what their daily routine is.
It's so true, man.
We're lucky that we get to do it, right? But at the same time, I think it is important that we can look ourselves in the mirror and say, what are we really doing here? And laugh at the matter of fact that we're all just bullshitting and, as you say, kibitzing about nothing.
It's such it goes against everything our society has become, except that everybody is a narcissist now in our society. So everybody has to feel validated. And it's like, I think player X is the right choice. And then if that guy goes, it's like, they did it. And then you got to support it for the next decade, or you have to hate it. Like Najee Harris, there's some Steelers fans that are going to be resentful towards Najee Harris quietly, as if they're in the title game. They'll get a little quieter, and if they go to a Super Bowl, they'll be what? I got 22 on. I've always been a 22 guy. This is how they'll be about that. But yes, it goes against like this long burn. Everybody needs immediate gratification, and I guess in and of itself, the draft is like as a standalone thing. Like our team won it or they didn't win it, and but if you look at what it is in context of the entire football season, how important was the 2020 draft to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I mean, was that what swung it? I know Tristan Wirfs was good and everything, did nicely for protecting the 43-year-old man and all that, but was that ultimately what swung it for the? I mean, it had no impact on the way this thing shook out. Now, I guess we could make a case that the Packers screwed it up and hurt the feelings of their prima donna QB, who, by the way, is allowed to do that, whereas our number 7 wearing QB, imagine, he did one, Roethlisberger did what amounts to like 1/1000th of the hissy fit of Aaron Rodgers, but somehow it's allowed for Aaron Rodgers to do. If Roethlisberger did that, I don't even know. Like I don't know if people would be calling for the Steelers to just be canceled as a football team. Like, we can't have that. Roethlisberger's not the difference in standards and everything else. It's tremendous.
Dave, I'm glad that you brought that up, because for the swiftest second in my head today, I thought about quoting a tweet about some of this Rodgers nonsense and just saying exactly that. Imagine if number 7 in black and gold even came close to having the reports come out about, well, I'm just not coming back. I mean, every PFF guy, every NFL media, everybody would just be fishing for so many retweets. It wouldn't even be funny. And I decided against it very quickly because I didn't want to deal with the shitstorm that would come from that. But it is. It is very interesting. And that thought has crossed my mind multiple times over the past day.
Yeah, right. There's a different standard. Here's the great news, though, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know how over the last at least quarter century, if not more, no team in a professional sport has won a championship without at some point invoking, probably before the game and certainly after the big game, they have to invoke, no one outside this locker room believed in us or believes in us along the way. It's like, I mean, it reached the most absurd level when it was, everybody understood Tom Brady, you're the best. Okay, we give it to you begrudgingly. You're the best quarterback of all time. And by the way, you have the best tight end of all time in Rob Gronkowski. And them walking through like, what can we do? No one believed in us. Like, I think some people believed in you guys. I think some people believed in you along the way. So let's cut that pap out. Now, here's the good news for the 2021 Pittsburgh Steelers, starting with Ben Roethlisberger on down. Truly, no one believes in you. And imagine if Penei Sewell had gone to the Bungles, everybody, I really think everybody be picking the Steelers to finish in last place. And maybe they will. Maybe they will, Joey. Maybe I'll have egg on my face in 8 months, and I'll wear it when that time arrives. Yeah. In the meantime, though, I will continue to point to this ignored fact here, that or too ignored as far as everybody remembers that essentially the same defense almost went to the playoffs with Duck Hodges at quarterback. I mean, Roethlisberger, his best days are behind him. He's finished. Like, is he better than Duck Hodges? Is he better than Mason Rudolph? I think he is. I think the Steelers are fine. And you know what? I'll say it here and now. I get the Browns are better. I get the Ravens aren't going away. I get even the Bengals will have a chance to be a little bit better. I'm saying it here and now. Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger don't have losing seasons. What are we talking about? What are we even yapping about with it? It's just so doom and gloom. If you really get into it, it's hard to fathom. It's like people, as if the world doesn't have other things to complain about, they have to create something that is just completely non-existent. Maybe you're confusing that black and gold team with the one that plays in PNC Park nearby. But the Steelers, I don't know if you've noticed, they put winning teams out on the field every year.
The Buccos, they're in third in the NL Central? I mean, they're coming out hot out of the gate. Buccos are looking good.
Oh, listen, I was told 6 months ago that, dude, get ready, Yins. Next decade is gonna be a long one, dude. Look, you remember how long it took between Bradshaw and Roethlisberger, dude? And the Penguins, Crosby's old and Gino's washed up. They got to trade him and Letang shouldn't play. This is going to be a bad decade for Pittsburgh. It's like, hey, did you guys hear about free agency? Because the only way that could possibly be true is if you think the people making those personnel decisions don't know what they're doing. And we have been very lucky in Pittsburgh that we have sound decision makers at that level who keep the Steelers and the Penguins, not the Pirates, but those other two in the mix and have for, the better part of 25 years. Where the Dubin, I mean, I get it if you're a Jets fan. I get it if you're in Cleveland. Where it comes from as a Pittsburgh sports fan is a head scratcher.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a fairly blessed life. Not fairly, a really blessed life as a sports fan. I was watching the Jets take who'd they take? Who was the guy they took? The wide receiver, Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore, right.
I was watching them take Elijah Moore with my mom, and I was like, oh, wow. Jets, they got Tucker, they got Wilson, they got Moore. And she looks at me, she says, They're still the Jets. And so that's all you need to know.
That's the best. That sounds like the start of a joke. I was watching the Jets take Elijah Moore with my mom, and that's that. But yes, it's funny. To the point about everybody being an expert.
Yeah.
Apparently, Mrs. Molinaro and also Mo Dameshek, my mother, She texted me last night before the draft. She's like, "I just want it on record that I like Trey Lance." Like, I'll alert the media, Mo. I'll let everybody like what? Why? But yes, it speaks to what we're talking about here.
What she think of what Mrs. Dameshek think of Najee?
Oh, she'll like it because he's clearly a nice guy. And that's what I mean. It went too far with old Mo. When we were sitting in Pitt Stadium in the glory days of Pitt football, and Pitt was, top 10 team every year, and a bum team like Syracuse or Rutgers or whatever would come, or Temple would come into town, and they'd score in the first quarter, and it'd be up 7-0, and their sideline would be going crazy in the stadium. And my mother would be like, "Oh, I'm happy for them. Look how happy all the boys are on their sideline. Look isn't that nice for them?" Like, all right. It's too much, Mo. We're not rooting for that team, all right? But anyway, yeah, she's an empath, and so she'll like Najee because he's clearly a nice guy with what he's been doing, just in the last few days here.
Is this another similarity? My mom, she every play call is the stupidest play call, and when they go inside, they want to go outside, and when they go outside, why didn't you run out the middle? There's nobody there. Is that a Mo Dameshek specialty too?
No, she trades on the emotions of her kinder. So she kind of reacts like she cried when the Penguins won the Stanley Cup in 1991, not because she was happy, but because she was happy for my sister and me. Like, that's the way she works. My old man is the one who nothing is correct. Everything is wrong. Like, I don't know why they do it that way. Like I say, I don't like that, but I think that's what. Like, all right.
Whatever
let them know.
That's awesome. Asante Samuel Jr. just got taken by the Chargers.
Okay.
A few more picks. So as a guy that maybe people thought a few more picks until they get to the black and gold. A couple
I think
more.
that each one. I mean, we'll see how this breaks here, man. Because Creed Humphrey does feel like the guy. If they land him, that will settle down all the cynics in the short term, and then we'll see what happens later in the night. Asante Samuel. For what it's worth, Coach T, he likes the guy. He liked the guy a lot.
Bloodline.
And that's his area of that's his specialty is the secondary. So if he fancied a guy, I could see him getting in Colbert's ear and saying, let's get this guy. In the meantime, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Things change in pro football a lot. And, the teams that have the best quarterbacks are in the playoffs pretty much every year. But hear me now, believe me later. On the other side of football America, but still in the AFC, the Chargers are going to dethrone them Chiefs in 2021. That the Ravens are a pain in our butt always because they draft so well and they load up at the line of scrimmage and they do all that. And every year they're in the mix because of that.
Yep.
The other team that does that well is Tom Telesco. He hits on all his picks for the Chargers. And that team's going to be scared. But we have much more to deal with before we start worrying about who we're going to play in the divisional round, right?
And not only that, but they're going to look damn good doing it because the get-ups there they got out there in L.A.
Now we're talking.
A thing of beauty, Dave. I got to – are you what's your stance on jerseys, on guys wearing jerseys? I feel like you're anti-jersey wear.
What is it? You mean a grown-up who isn't on the team?
Me or you going down, watch the Steelers play and we're wearing our jersey.
Listen, do what you want. Life's short. Don't worry about what everybody else is saying. If it's your pleasure to put on a Steelers jersey, I say you do it.
Here's my spin zone on that too, Dave, is when you get the dudes in the hardos that are like, I would never wear another man's name on my back. I'm like, I spin zone it to where I'm like, I'm man enough and proud enough of myself that I will do it. And I'll be happy wearing Franco Harris, now Najee Harris on my back. And so don't tell me about how well you can't. I can't imagine. That's just so embarrassing. Okay, how insecure are you that you can't do that? Because I'm secure enough to do it.
You know what? I like that posture that you've talked yourself into there. That's that rationalization works well enough for me. I'm gonna. But also, another man's thing. Where it cuts it for me, as a vain man, or guy. I'm not a man. I'm a guy. But it's maybe don't get your name. That's where it gets weird. Then you're getting into some weird delusional territory. Like if you're wearing the Molinaro on the back, I don't know. I might do something with that. But then again, I think that if we put out a Molinaro Steelers jersey, I don't even know what the number properly would be there, but I suspect it would be a great seller around Pittsburgh, as you have emerged as one of the great Steelers voices in all the land over this last year.
I appreciate that, Dave. But I don't know. I think when I think Dameshek, I feel like that should be on a Pens jersey. I feel like that would be beautiful.
Okay.
On a Pens sweater. They call them sweaters, right? I'm not a huge hockey guy being from Indy. They call them sweaters, yeah?
I think old schoolers like me call them sweaters. Yes, but yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, I don't know if I should be ashamed or not. I've got them. I've got them all. They're for personal use. They're not for. Here's the thing for me, Joey. I don't, especially as we get deep into these seasons here. I used to be, let's go to a party and watch with everybody and everything else. Now it's become more spiritual. The older I get, now it's what happens within those four walls.
Yeah.
At game time, playoff games especially, that's between me and Coach T or the Penguins or other. That's none of your business. Don't worry what I'm doing in there. You don't have to get into it. Like people love showing off. Here's my set. Don't worry about what my setup is. That's for me. What I will tell you is we can have fun in September, even maybe early October. As we get deep into the season, Coach T and the fellas are laying it on the line. The least I can do is give them my undivided attention and my full passion. That's all I do. That's my way. And that's my creed. That's why it'd be Creed Humphrey.
So we're closing in on it real quick. What's your Mike Woodson turning the boys around down there in Bloomington? Your Hoosiers going to be all right?
Listen, you know what? This is outrageous talk. They were. It's kind of like what the Raiders were from Oakland to LA. Like they got a hot girlfriend and they fooled around with her for like a decade down in hot LA. Then they moved back up to the old ball and chain in Oakland. It's kind of that. Like I love Bloomington. Beautiful. Some of the best years of my life. But let's be honest. I was just dating somebody for a little while there. Pittsburgh's in my soul. Pitt basketball is where it's at for me. Now I will keep my eye on Michael Penix and company because we're now a football school. I don't know if you heard about that, Molinaro. Bad news for your boys on the wrong side of Indianapolis, an hour north of there. But at least we share a love for Rod Woodson.
That's absolutely Hoosier legend, born Boilermaker bred. Put it on a fucking t-shirt. How about that, right? My wife's sitting right over there. She went to Purdue. She was a cheerleader. Humble brag. Dave, hey man, I told you like 20 minutes. You stayed and had fun. I appreciate it as always. You're the man. I can't thank you enough for taking me under your wing as somebody who's listened to you for a long time, followed you for a long time. It really means a lot, man.
No, man. Love seeing all the stuff. You really did. A tip of the hat, not to get saccharine, but you really played a hand. I mean, what's his name? The Tiger guy at the start of COVID. Right. He helped us out for like the first month of COVID, but after that, you became essential viewing to help keep our chins up collectively as we struggle through it. Now, the only thing you got to master, and you do all the voices, so I don't know what's taking you so long. We need a good Yinzer accent out of you. I mean, it's unacceptable that you haven't developed one by now.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling me out on it. And I'll just keep listening to your pods and then talking with you, and I'll get it down. I know I will. So I'll work. All
right, Dave. Look, we still got Roethlisberger. Look, you wait. He's gonna take that Myles Garrett jag and all them. He's gonna shove them down and gonna throw a touchdown. Hey, guess what? I'm looking in my crystal ball, Yins. You know what? 8 months from now, touchdown, more touchdowns. Pittsburgh Steelers back on top of the football mountain.
And you say, is it Permane? How is it Permane, bro? What's the accent?
I say Permantes. I don't know. Permantes. The big loss was the
and then it's the emphasis on the T's. Because I would just say like Permane, bro, like in Indy. And then
it's a weird paradox. Some words, some monosyllabic words, some syllables get stretched like Roethlisberger, raw. So it could just be raw, but instead it's raw. But then other words get truncated.
Raw.
The South Side or the Steelers. The Steelers are the Stillers.
Stillers, yeah.
It's that, yeah.
Brown, I got Brown, I got the Stillers, that. But then there's just those other little yinzer phrases that I got to work on.
I have faith in you, just as I have faith in Kevin Colbert to use all of his allotted picks tonight and tomorrow as well.
As he said that, Rondell Moore from my Boilers just taken 49 overall to the Arizona Cardinals. So
wow,
that guy, yeah, electric.
Guess what? You know what? Another long tenured quarterback who's played in a couple of Super Bowls is Russell Wilson. He's coming in 4th place this year. Thank goodness we're not in that division.
All right, Dave. Thanks, man. Go enjoy your Friday.
All right, Molinaro. Hang in there, pal. Love your work as always, and let's kibitz soon.
Talk to you soon.
Here we go.
That's Dave Dameshek. Gosh, love that guy, man. He the DDFP wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I grew up. That puts him in a bad. Not he's not that old. But when I was in college, and anytime you have a media person, Dave was one of the first people that I was like, okay, this guy works in football media, but he's not like a football media, gas hat or, just like a blowhard who just like gets in there and like he makes fun of it. He has fun with it. I was like, oh, that's possible to do that. Like you can work in the NFL and work in football and also like have a personality and have a team that you like. I was like, that's awesome. So like being Dave Dameshek was, that was just like ideal. I get to root for my Steelers. I get to watch football and talk about it and make fun of people. And so, yeah, that's a little background on me. And Dave Dameshek, I'm getting it. It'll be there. I love how he says Molinaro. That, not typically how you pronounce the name, but all good because we love Dave. So we've had Cam Heyward, we had Willie Colon, we had Dave Dameshek, and now I'm just trying to keep at it until the Steelers off the banks of the Three Rivers make their selection. The Giants are up right now, pick 50. They're still on the clock. Right now, as far as I've seen, these guys on my wish list are still available. Creed Humphrey, Quinn Miners, Jabril Cox, who, in my mind, I'd rather have him as like a 3rd round selection if he's there. But Creed Humphrey, Quinn Miners, I think right there, if you get one of those 2 guys and the next 5 picks, and they're still there, you have to feel great, not good, great about your first 2 rounds if you are Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got your running back. You got the man in the middle, not in the man in the mirror, Michael Jackson style, the man in the middle with Quinn Miners or Creed Humphrey. If you can get one of those guys, then all of a sudden we're getting back to the black and gold down the Steelers. All I want to do is talk like Dave Dameshek now because he's such a personality and I love him. But you get one of those guys, then now we're really cooking. Now you got a mean and nasty anchor to anchor that offensive line for the next 10 years. Once Big Ben hangs him up, then you got the new quarterback coming in, and he's going to show him the way, and he's going to be a security guard, and he's going to have his back throughout. And then you got your running back. So now you're setting yourself – that's something else to think about. You're setting yourself up to where you have not only in 2021 where you have a mauler come in up front and center, and it really turns the tide of the offensive line, turns the tide with the running back, Super Najee Harris, first-round pick, Crimson Tide coming in. So you have these 2 players that are going to help you not only in 2021 – but what do you always know? What do you always say about a young quarterback who in 2022 likely is either going to be, hopefully not Mason Rudolph, but maybe a young guy in 2022 or 2023. The best friend is a center up front that's going to take care of him, and then a run game. So I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling really, really good about the options that are still on the board. From my understanding, you got Liam Eichenberg, Tevin Jenkins, Landon Dickerson, who have all been taken. Walker Little from Stanford was a tackle that was taken. Jackson Carman, a tackle from Clemson that was taken. I didn't see any of those guys being slotted to the Steelers or guys that they really, really liked. So I'm not too worried about that. So I have my wish list up there. If it's Creed Humphrey, if it's Quinn Miners, I love it. Jabril Cox, would love to have him down the road. See, I don't mind that either. The fellow out of Notre Dame, a 3-down rangy linebacker. If they went here, I know the sky would fall. Everybody would lose their shit. If they don't take offensive line, and I think the pick will be offensive line. But at the same time, like Dave talked about, nobody knows better than Tomlin and Colbert. Kevin Colbert has hit so much, especially on first and second round picks. They just got to trust him. And so if that's the guy that they take over, overextending for an offensive lineman, then I'm going to trust it. Just at Dameshek, Dameshek, Dave Dameshek. Look him up. He's the man. Who's left on the O-line that they can get? Creed Humphrey, Quinn Miners. Giants are picking right now. Azeez Ojulari, pass rusher from Georgia. I didn't really see him tied to the Steelers very much. All right, so we're down. We got 4 picks. We got 4 picks till we get to us at 55. From Michael. What about Dylan Radens from North Dakota State? Yep. I'd be cool with that too. I love guys like Willie Colon, my friend and my co-host who was on for a half hour. He was a double-A guy as well. He got taken in the 4th round. He was a mauler and a baller. So if they go with him, again, I'm going to trust him. I think Daniel Valentine put up a really good Steelers info. I think Daniel Valentine put up I know that he put up a stat about – here we go. Steelers 2nd round. 2011, Marcus Gilbert, hit. Mike Adams in 2012, nope. Le'Veon Bell, also obvious hit. Stephon Tuitt, obvious hit. Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Chase Claypool. That's a lot of really, really good players, a lot of really good hits in round 2 that has been over the last decade. So, again, you got to feel good. You got to trust whatever it's going to be. Right, can you give me another drink, baby? I'll take a Coke. This is fun, man. And Dave's the best. That's funny, dude. I'm just coming back on the comments because I've been filled with Willie and Cam and Dave because they were awesome. But Aaron Smith never had a helmet that fit. You're so right, dude. And it wasn't that it didn't fit. I think that he had too big of a forehead and like a top head. So it looked like it didn't fit because the face mask would be right here in his face rather than down here where everybody can see their eyes. Thank you so much. That's hilarious though that you pointed that out. Do people have inside information? Because everybody's saying that it's going to be Owusu Koromoa. Washington's picking right now. So they go tackle. Washington goes Samuel Cosmi, tackle out of Texas. So the Colts had a lot of interest in him reportedly, but they weren't going to reach. Again, this guy's getting taken. This guy's getting taken 51 overall, and you expected the Colts or the Steelers to reach 30 spots? That's one of the reasons, among others, that we've talked about on this show so far. But that's one of the reasons why I was perfectly okay with Najee Harris at 24. Because that's about where he should have been picked. That's about where he was ranked on big boards like Daniel Jeremiah and everybody like that is at 24 to 30. He was right there. You want to reach to get the 51st player and Samuel Cosmi right there, because it's like Chris Ballard said. Chris Ballard, who's been on my program, friend of the show. He said, when you reach for one pick, then you're creating 2 holes. So that's why I don't understand why everybody's up in arms about the Steelers taking Najee Harris there instead of a guy like Samuel Cosmi, because then when you take Samuel Cosmi at 24, then when you come back to 55, now you're creating 2 holes because you're just getting another guy like James Conner. And again, like Dave talked about, that is a slap shot at James Conner. It's not meant to be. Great story, great dude, pretty solid player, but he's not changing the game. Just really not that hard to understand why they took Najee Harris there. Cleveland's on the clock. 52. I don't know. They don't. One of my things I don't like about the NFL Network here is like usually I think on ESPN they have like team needs. You know, Mel's the best available, and then team needs. So you kind of would get an idea. Off the top of my head, I'm like, all right, they took a corner last night. I would assume that would be defense. Cleveland doesn't need offensive linemen. I guess you can never have enough offensive linemen, but Cleveland doesn't, up front need to take a lineman in the second round. I mean, they were fucking dominant, especially in January. The pick's already in though. Cleveland on the. Who do you guys want to see? Who do we want to see? Cleveland on the clock. Man, Cam Heyward was great. So was Dave and Willie. I mean, everybody was great. If you want to, for those watching, appreciate. It's been great so far. Subscribe below. For those watching on YouTube, if you missed any of it, you got to catch it. I mean, Cam Heyward, Willie, Dave, just having fun talking Steelers. Great stories. It'll be up on the channel tonight after this live is over, and then tomorrow. And so be sure to subscribe to come watch it as well. Yeah, but again, like you get depth at offensive line, but you don't draft the first round for depth. You draft the first round to get a readily available starter to come play. So yeah, I'm going to defend the running back pick, but and rounds for round 2 here for Cleveland, and when they already have that, you draft for depth. You're not drafting in the first round for a fucking depth player. What are your thoughts on handling our quarterback situation after Ben, especially if we have a winning season? Yeah, they signed Mason, and everybody that covers the Steelers, on a daily says that everybody wants to make fun of Mason Rudolph, but people within the building, the people who matter, they like him. They like his development, and they obviously do because they signed him. They signed him to, I think, another 1-year extension. So after this year, Mason's going to be the only quarterback that's on contract. So it's going to be a tough spot. But again, I think that's another reason why they took Najee Harris. Another reason why hopefully they're going to take an offensive lineman here that's going to be coming and ready to play is because they're doing everything they can to try to give it one last shot with Ben in 2021. That's obvious. And then after, I think it plays into it nicely that, a best friend for a young quarterback is going to be able to have somebody to turn and hand the ball off to and somebody who can protect him up front. Likely going to be the first 2 picks in this year's draft. I mean, it's just like that's complete. This comment is just so fucking annoying. Yeah, I'm going to defend you have to defend the running back pick. You have to defend taking the best player at that position at 24, acting like the Steelers were number 5 and they're taking Jamar Chase. Fucking nonsense. From Michael, what are your thoughts on Hightower? Is he the answer, or do we need a rotational guy? I'm a big fan of I think you mean Highsmith. Big fan of Alex Highsmith. Talk to him fairly regularly. He's a great dude, and I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I mean, when Bud went down in early December last year, yeah, there was a fall off because Bud had turned into a Pro Bowl caliber player. But I mean, the reason that the Steelers flamed out like they did wasn't because of the lack of production from Alex Highsmith. Sure would have helped to have Bud Dupree, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah just went off the board. So JOK off the board to Cleveland. Solid pickup for them. A few more picks, and he still got – I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say the names. But I'm confident in Alex Highsmith. Especially that Colts game. If you watch that Colts game, down the stretch in the fourth quarter, his pressure is what caused Phillip Rivers to have to get rid of the ball, which forced turnovers. I think he's shown the ability, and it's like Dave was talking about. What do I fucking know? But from what I saw last year, he looked way better in his rookie year than what Bud Dupree looked in his rookie year or his second season. And we saw the player that Bud Dupree turned into in the last 2.5 years. So I'm really confident in Alex Highsmith. I'm glad that they took him where they did. And, I was one of the people that was just like, guy from Charlotte, I don't really know. It could be a project. And he came in and he blew it away. So I'm excited about Alex. Damn, Cleveland. So Cleveland goes Newsome round 1 and then Owusu Koromoa in round 2. Solid, man. It's happy being bad. Yeah. I mean, not only, people do forget. It's a great call. Not only is, you got a new running back that's dynamic. You're hopefully going to get some O-line help here coming soon. But you got rid of Coach Randy. And it was clear and obvious down the stretch that, his play calling and the situations he would put the guys in just wasn't getting it done. So I have faith that you bring in somebody like Canada and, promote him, that he's going to bring a little bit of a fresh take and with some new toys, like Najee Harris and some O-linemen, hopefully new tight end maybe. It's all right. It's not that big of a deal. They can bark. It's just like, me and 30 people here. Wow, NFL comparison, Harrison Smith. Interesting. So that guy can play everywhere, according to Daniel Jeremiah, my buddy. I put out some stuff on Instagram to see if people wanted to have some questions. So
happy.
Where does Harris stack up against other running backs of the AFC North? I mean, kind of tough to tell. It is tough to tell because he hasn't played a professional down yet. So, I mean, you look at Cleveland with Nick Chubb, J.K. Dobbins in Baltimore, Kareem Hunt in Cleveland, Joe Mixon in Cincinnati. I mean, it's a division full of really, really good running backs. So, I think based off his college production and the player coming out, he's right up there with them. But I mean, all we can hope for, Steelers' sake is that he turns out to be the kind of player that like a Nick Chubb is, because that dude is a bad MF, man. That guy is a bad dude. So you can't really say because he hasn't played it down. But you drafted him at 24 to hope that he's going to come in and be that kind of dude. Dude, yeah, Michael. Najee looked great last night. He was pulling out the turtleneck blazer combination with the chain. I mean, our guy looked solid. Titans are already picking, and my friend right here, Good Kid City, said, yeah, Colts and Titans are next. They don't need a center, so. They go with the tackle. Radens off the board. Dylan Radens from North Dakota State. We were just talked about him. Left tackle in college, and Taylor Lewan, my coworker, he's still there. So maybe they move Radens over to right tackle, or DJ just said they view him as a guard. All right, so yeah, I mean, you have my wish list right here. Right now, Creed Humphrey, Quinn Miners, Jabril Cox. Again, that last one's more so like third round, hopefully. But the two guys are on the board there, and you got to feel pretty solid about how it's falling for the Steelers right now because Indy has Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly. So you wouldn't think that they would need to draft one of those guys. I talked with Alex Kozora from Steelers Depot on Wednesday before the first round, and he said that Creed Humphrey would have been his first pick. If he was the GM, he would have taken Creed Humphrey at 24 overall. Not that he didn't like Najee Harris. He just said that he liked Creed Humphrey that much. And this is a dude who actually watches film, breaks it down, knows the X's and O's, whereas people like me and Dameshek, like we were joking about, we take those guys' opinions and then we're like, oh, well, I want this guy. So going off of what Kazora said, and you can go back and watch that 20-minute conversation with him on Cup of Joey on my channel that you're watching on right now. He said he would take Creed Humphrey in the first round. And right now, with the Colts having their pick in and not needing an offensive lineman, it's looking like the Steelers are going to have their choice between those two guys. So, I mean, if you can walk away, and this is how it's looking, it's going to play out, and I barely want to say his name because, like I said, I just don't want some freaky shit to happen where the Colts, for whatever reason, are just like, oh, we like them too much to pass up on them. I don't know. But if somebody like him likes Creed Humphrey that much, then I'm all for it. But I also like Quinn Miners. You know, the D3 darling coming in, dominated the Senior Bowl, a guard / center. We had him on Going Deep, the other podcast that I'm on at Barstool, and the dude was awesome. I loved him. They call him the Gut. How fucking great would that be to have him in Pittsburgh? The Gut. Like, that just makes so much sense. You know, you had the bus, and then you bring in the Gut. It would be great. The dude would be a fucking cult hero, you know? In commercial break right now. Yeah, Alex is awesome, man. Is so much good information. And that conversation, 20 minutes, and you had a lot of good shit. A lot of good shit there. Yeah, and that's Dave brought it up, and everybody's been talking about it on Twitter too. But Najee Harris, man. I mean, everything you read about him, see about him, you know, his the type of dude he is just seems phenomenal, you know. So you match that with taking the best overall player there at that position group at a position of need. Let's be honest. It's not like the Steelers didn't need to get a dude at running back because we did. Anybody who says that they were good with going into this season and beyond with Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland and Jalen Samuels as your running backs is full of shit. And they just want to die on the hill that you need to get offensive line first. I don't believe anybody like that. You okay? All right, guys, pick is in. Come on. Schedule release coming up, not next week, but the week after. That'll be good. 17 games. May the 12th. Going to New York next season. Or next season. Next season, I'm joining the Jets. Going to New York. Next week, I'm going to New York. Since we know it's Ben's last year and he disappointed we didn't go after a youngish quarterback. Yeah, Michael, I think you nailed it. I think you trusted your gut and you nailed it there. You know, because Wentz, you look at it kind of a project. Bridgewater, you know what you're getting. A guy that's just a guy. And Garoppolo, I mean, San Fran obviously wasn't happy with him, so you just want to take somebody's sloppy seconds, sloppy thirds from New England to San Fran and go with that. You ride out Ben, you try to make 2021 one last ride as best you can, and then you figure out the quarterback position after that. You go and get your next guy or try to get your next guy. And you know what? Honestly, the way that some Steelers fans and people out there who cover the Steelers like to talk shit about Ben and how he plays, they kind of deserve purgatory, quarterback purgatory, honestly. Because you don't realize how good you have it for a guy 17 plus years playing at that high level. Antoine Bethea is at the mic right now, making the Colts pick. I'm going to say corner. It's totally wrong. Deo Odeyingbo. Odeyingbo. Hey, man. Chris Ballard loves to build up front. I told you guys for the last 2 months, everybody's like, who are the Colts going to take? Are they going to take Devontae Smith? They're going to take Kadarius Toney? Like, if Chris Ballard could play without wide receivers, he would. Seriously. The dude is either going to take up front for offensive line or he's going to take best player available up front, build in the trenches. That's what he does. So he takes a dude that I know that a lot of people are going to be like, what? But that happened a few years ago with Darius Leonard. I remember myself saying, South Carolina State, Darius Leonard, what the fuck? And he's like the best linebacker in football. So dude knows what he's doing. From Michael, not only is Najee a good dude, he hurdles full-grown men as easy as I get out of bed. I like this Michael Hill guy. I like this. That's great, man. That's the kind of energy right there. You know what? You just got to be happy with who they pick. You got to trust Colbert and Tomlin. You just got to ride with it. Steelers already have the pick in, so you know that they were just licking their chops, man. They're ready to go. Who's it going to be? It's got to be Humphrey, right? It's got to be – and I'm hiding the chat because I don't want to see if anybody has any like rumors out there or sees a report earlier. Because I had Najee Harris ruined for me by Stephen fucking Shea last night. My mom says be nice to Stephen when she all the time is just like, you tell Stephen that I don't agree with that. His voice sounds funny. I didn't think he'd sound like that. He's full of shit. Franco! How great would that be? Why do I sound like how great is that? He's waving. They done got a terrible towel. He's waving. What the hell is it? Oh, nice. It's a terrible mask. Him and Dameshek look just alike. That's the jersey I have, right? 32. That's him. I love Franco Harris, man. No, man. What the hell are we doing? What is this? Man, dude, what is going on?
Do you think they tell them how to pronounce their last names before they go up there?
What are they comparing him to? What is this? Wow, one-handed catch. Dude. You know what? He said a glimpse of Heath Miller. I guess that's all right. You know what? Look. Third round, we still got him. A tight end was a position that they needed to address. All right. Ebron was signed to a 2-year deal. Vance McDonald just retired. And if they feel good about this kid, then they feel good about him. Last year when they took Chase Claypool in the second round, I wanted J.K. Dobbins, and look what happened. Chase Claypool turned out to be a stud. All right, so this happens all the time, especially with me, especially with any fan. And like Dameshek was talking about, you get these hey, Najee's on the screen with Drew Brees. Drew Brees. I'm really excited about the Najee pick, though. You know, at least they didn't take Freiermuth in the first round, but, I mean, I got to be honest. I was really, really, really expecting Creed Humphrey there. I mean, they must feel like the board is going to fall perfectly for them in the third round coming up at 87, that they're going to be able to get Quinn Miners or I guess just best O-lineman available. I don't know. Now I'm going to listen to fucking Jeff Schwartz run his mouth about all this nonsense. All you got to do is just look at the draft history of Kevin Colbert in the second round like I just did. You got Marcus Gilbert. You got Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, James Washington. I just had a few of the other ones. Freiermuth. Fuck. Okay. I mean, you know, initially not thrilled about it just because, look, I've been sitting out here putting my fucking nuts on the line talking about how I'm cool with Najee Harris and you're going to go get offensive linemen. And in the second round, they go and get a tight end. I mean, it was a position of need, but as compared to an offensive line, I don't know. And it's a great point by Dave Dameshek that he brought up earlier saying, hey, you know, they have a lot of faith in Chooks and they have a lot of faith in Zach Banner, apparently. So if they're going to go and they say, hey, we feel good about Banner and Chooks, we feel good about Chooks at left tackle, Banner at right tackle, Dotson at left guard, and we're not going to overreach for alignment, and we're going to go with the best player available that we like, then I got to trust him, man. And, not thrilled about it. Would love to have the offensive line duo with Najee in the first round last night, but all I could do, throw my hands up, man. Hands up, they're tied. Because as a fan, not thrilled about it. But as somebody who's trying to have a realistic approach, I'm saying I'm going to trust Colbert and I'm going to trust Tomlin. Because last year I was like, about Chase Claypool, and they obviously knew more than me. What's the chat saying? What's the chat saying? Yeah, dude, I love Rondell Moore, Purdue guy. So I watched Rondell Moore's first ever college football game in person when he went off for like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns against Northwestern on Thursday Night Football. Love Rondell Moore. Really excited for him. Yeah, I mean, I'm not thrilled about it. I would love for them to invest in that, but again, they just must have. Colbert and company must really just say, on the outside, everybody doesn't think that we're good, but we feel confident in Banner and Chooks and obviously Dotson. I don't think that's a question about Dotson, but you got Banner, my guy, coming off of an ACL tear, and people seem to be down on Chooks, but apparently they know something that we don't. So you just gotta fucking trust it, man. You just gotta trust it. Yeah, John makes a great point. I mean, that's what I said. You think, and everybody said that was going to be offensive line, but Ebron he's only signed for a 2-year deal, so he's only got 1 more year left on his deal. We know what Ebron is. He is a mismatch type of dude. He has no interest in blocking. God love him. But he's not to the level of somebody who's going to be a complete game changer offensively. Yeah, Gentry's huge, but something about I like this, Michael. Michael's making some great points tonight, man. We might have to start a Steelers pod together or something. Move. That's great. That's great. So many O-line early in the second round. We might get a good turnaround here to get minus. Again, they have to feel good about that. They have to feel like either the board's going to fall their way, and that's what I'm going with, or that they just really, really like Chooks and Banner. I don't know, man. We got 30-plus picks unless we're going to try to trade up somehow and get somebody, but that's what I keep going back to. Last year I was okay. I don't really know about Claypool. I mean, what's going to happen? And then the dude, is one of the best offensive threats in the draft coming out last year. So I know that interview Q. I know that. You don't think I know that? You don't think I've been talking about that the entire night? I know that. No, just as somebody. We needed O-line, man. I fucking know that. You think I don't know? Cheese and Chong, all I can tell you, my man, is that at that spot, they knew that they needed to address tight end. They loved this Freiermuth guy. Freiermuth. Muth, I'm just going to call him. We're just going to call him Muth. Muth. They loved Muth. And, that's what they were going with. I love minors. I don't really agree with that, Sean. Worst part is tight end takes the longest to develop, so it doesn't really help out Ben in his last year. I think it honestly could be one of his best friends. Yeah, I mean, George Kittle came in. He's a 4th-round pick, and he was really good right away. Robert Tonyan, Indiana State, from the Packers last year. Really, really good. Tight ends play on the O-line too. Freiermuth is a much better blocker than Ebron. I like it, Bracket Dom. Exactly. That's good. You don't think of somebody like that. You don't draft a tight end in the second round at the 55th overall pick to just come and be more emphasis with blocking and on the line. But that is something that he's going to offer more than what you would get from Ebron. That's for sure. So yeah. Yeah, that's true, and I hear you, and that's what I'm sure Jeff Schwartz is texting me right now, talking about, oh, where's your lineman in the second round? Where's your lineman in the second round? All he can say is that the final word from tonight is you got to hope to continue that the board falls your way, and you got to come away saying, okay, if we can either trade up somehow or at 87 we can get, for some reason, you can get Creed Humphrey still or Quinn Miners, and your first 3 picks you get 2 dudes that you loved, Burpee Boy, to help you come in right away and better your offense, and then you get an lineman to come in and compete and battle with Chooks and Banner, who the Steelers themselves feel good about. Then I'm talking myself into it. Then I'm cool with it. I've been going at it for an hour and a half. I got no breath left in me. I'm fucking lightheaded. I need another Coke. I appreciate you guys. I can't stay on until 87. I'll be on Twitter talking about it until 87, but just talking to myself like this. You guys have been great. The show's going to be up for you guys to watch later tonight if you missed it. Tomorrow, Sunday, Cam Heyward, Willie Colon, Dave Dameshek, all the Steelers talk, answering you guys' questions too. So I appreciate it. Trust in Colbert, trust in Tomlin. Well, you just got to. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. We're going to come back in round 3, round 4, round 5. We're going to get our offensive linemen. Going to be depth. They're going to be good to go. We've done it before. Everybody take a deep breath. Super Menage. Go get your T-shirt. Pat Booth. Looking forward to it. Trust in those guys. Go Steelers. And I'll talk to you on Monday.